Good afternoon, Tuesday, October the 7th, 12:32 in the afternoon. This is the All 32 pod with yours truly, Mike Giardi, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network, and of course brought to you by the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but PrizePicks being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. My mind might be a little scattered today. Not a lot of sleep the last couple of days, actually 3 days, because Saturday night my hotel was raging until 4:30 in the morning in Buffalo. I was not, but they were, and your boy wasn't sleeping. But we have gone over the film. We've talked to the people that we need to talk to, and we want to present you 4 quarters today, how the Patriots got to win. Looking forward, might even dip into the mailbag today to get a couple questions off Twitter from you fine folks. But I want to start first quarter, and I want to start with the defense for the New England Patriots. One of the keys to the game that Mike Vrabel told his football team was we have to control the Bills' running attack. James Cook has been one of the best running backs in football. They've had the best rushing offense in football through the first 4 weeks of the season. Patriots have been good against the run. In fact, some of the metrics tell you they've been very good against the run, but they hadn't faced anyone to this caliber. The best offensive line, they were seeing Deion Dawkins as a top 5 left tackle, Spencer Brown, top 7 or 8 right tackle, good interior offensive line, and of course Cook, who his ability to be patient and then put his foot in the ground and make that one cut and go has been special last year and this year as well. So what the Patriots did was they played defense differently than they had all season long. They got into a 3-4 defense, or they went with a 5-man defensive line, with the idea being the Bills love the heavy personnel. I think I talked about this last week, how they've embraced the 22 personnel, the 13 personnel more than any team in the National Football League by a long shot. I think 30 snaps in 22 personnel this year. Teams usually average 3, and they through 4 weeks had 7 or 8 per game. And the Patriots said, we're not going to let you bully us in this football game. We're going to take this away from you. And it sounds so simple, but like controlling their offensive line, playing them to a stalemate, and then having linebackers come in and fill the gaps and voids in the defense is critical. On the very first play, Jahlani Tavai blew the edge, and Tavai back and played very well in this game. Blew the edge. They get outside for a decent little run. You're like, oh, here you go. After that, truly, there was only one run in the game that scared you, a 9-yard run from James Cook around midfield that, quite frankly, had Harold Landry not chased him down and like got in the back of his heel, that could have been a 50-yard run. And maybe we're having a different conversation about the Patriots and their performance and the overall result in the game, but they didn't. They did an awesome job, and what they did was force Joe Brady, who's an outstanding offensive coordinator from the Bills, who has gotten Josh Allen to play at this MVP level, won the MVP last year, has gotten Cook paid basically with what he did with him last year and what he's doing with him this year, and has used his personnel to his advantage. He got Joe Brady to get out of that. Zach Core, the interim defensive coordinator, as he fills in for Terrell Williams, and Mike Vrabel, obviously part of the plan, the whole coaching staff really putting it together, but they got them out of that personnel grouping and away from their power bullying football. And to be able to do that, it caused some unevenness in the Bills' play in the first half. They talked about it. Joe Brady talked about it. As I mentioned this on the Andrew Callahan podcast on Monday night and wrote about it for Boston Sports Journal on Tuesday, is that they couldn't figure out the structure of it and how they wanted to attack it. And inevitably what happened was they just didn't attack it nearly enough. Cook, 15 carries, 49 yards. I mean, sign up for that all day, every day. Ray Davis, non-factor. Ty Johnson, non-factor in the football game. Just a terrific performance by that group, a terrific plan coming in. They're also allowed to do it in part because this was the first time that the Patriots got to play their cat coverage. And I go back to what Mike Vrabel said when they signed Carlton Davis and had the free agent press conference thing that they did with some people that, I don't know, radio made fun of or whatever. But he said, like, I want to play cat coverage where you got this cat and I got that cat. Well, Christian Gonzalez, terrific on Sunday night, targeted 4 times. 3 of those were tight window throws. They were 0 for thrown in his direction. Davis played really well. And you can add another cat to the combination, and that's Marcus Jones, the work that he has done in the slot. I know we talked about his performance as a special teamer last week, but been someone that I thought I felt pretty comfortable that they were going to try to replace in the offseason. And now he's become a captain and become a critical part of that secondary, not just with his physicality against the run, but his coverage skills. Got beat a couple times late in the game, but by and large, they were able to say, our best guys are better than your best guys. And the Bills' wide receiver room is, slightly above fair, I guess. But they just said 40% of the time we're going to play man, and your guys aren't going to be able to get open. And then when you do play zone behind it, you're still playing that matching concept. So once someone comes into your area, you're locking it down. And they just had no fear of Keon Coleman and Josh Palmer, and even to a lesser degree, Khalil Shakir. Dalton Kincaid was the one receiver that had a good game, and that's will continue to be a problem for the Patriots, how their linebackers and safeties cover tight ends and running backs. But on the outside, they had it covered completely. So you get terrific play up front, and then you back it up from behind. While I'm on the defensive front, I said this last night to Callahan. I wrote it down in my notes. This is a real specific one. Khyiris Tonga is awesome. You say, oh, geez, thanks, Mike. Like, way to break it down. Vrabel's talked about him being quicker than they thought. Remember, they signed him to a one-year deal. He's supposed to be a run-stuffing player. He's been that, but he's also been very effective as a pass rusher as well in the limited reps that he gets in that area, if you will. There'll be some times where my brain's not going to fully function today, and I'm going to struggle to find words. But he's just been so much better than I think anybody thought. And quite frankly, and I know it's only October and it's only 5 games, but in my head, I keep thinking like Khyiris Tonga is making a lot of money this season. He's showing that, I don't know if he can be an every down guy, but he is someone that should be a key piece in a rotation. And what he's able to do with Milton Williams and with Christian Barmore and Josh Farmer, the rookie, Corey Durden. Farmer and Durden both had bad penalties, but Farmer continues to play well. I've continued to be impressed by him, but Tonga has been the one that's really opened my eyes in terms of like, I didn't know he was this kind of player. I'm not sure they knew he was this kind of player, but he really helped control the interior, gave fits to both the guards and center whenever he was in their general vicinity, penetrating, holding up blocks, allowing Spillane to get to the football, allowing Christian Ellis, who had a nice bounce back game for him, tackled very well in this game, and Jack Gibbons, and as I mentioned, Tavai in his first game back from the injury. So really an impressive performance from that group, controlling the run game, and then knowing our defenders and pass are better than your receivers by and large, and doing that job. Gave the Bills a lot to think about, not just for the game, but going forward, gave the rest of the league something to think about, going forward. Like, we had been unimpressed by the defensive work to this point, even against Carolina, when there were some signs maybe that it was coming around. 7 of the 10 drives Carolina had in that game ended in Patriots territory. So they were moving the football, just not scoring with any consistency. This was a terrific first half performance. And yeah, they had to hold on a little bit in the second half. Marcus Jones making the great interception where knew he had safety help over the top. Khalil Shakir did not understand that it was man, thought it was zone, so he sort of settled. Felt like Josh either wanted him to continue the route or to come back a little bit. Also a little tick late on the throw, slightly behind, and Jones undercuts it, makes a huge play in the red zone for one of the 3 turnovers the Bills had. First time the Bills have lost the turnover margin in it had been 26 games in a row where they had won the turnover margin. They lose it at home in front of 76,000 Wild fans who left very disappointed by what the New England Patriots did in that contest. Before we get to the second quarter, I mentioned PrizePicks, a great sponsor, sponsors all the programs here on CLNS. And as I said, the ability to play daily fantasy sports, some people just aren't into it, but there's so many things going on now, and you have these vibes, you have these feelings, right? Like, for instance, I had a feeling the Yankees were going to get smoked by Toronto. The Toronto was waiting, rested, and ready to go. And so you start looking at the numbers. Ernie Clement, is he going to have a big game? Is Vlad Guerrero going to hit a home run? And with PrizePicks, you can just look at the numbers. Sometimes you can even adjust the numbers more or less on 2 players up to 6. They're now allowing you to stack players from the same game, which is not something that very many outlets do at all. That is also tremendous from PrizePicks. So just do that. You combine sports too. I tell you about all the time. I love that. Like, it doesn't have to just be one game. It can be multiple games. It can be different sports. You got basketball playoffs, and you've got baseball playoffs, and of course you've got football, golf, soccer, whatever, tennis, whatever you like, whatever you feel good at, just use PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off lineups when you play your first 5. Again, download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get 50 off your first prize. Don't miss the excitement of football season on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. So thanks to them, as always, for supporting our programs here and for bearing with me when I screwed up the read last week. I got to be better than that. We'll get to Ethos in just a little bit, but let's get to the second quarter. And I want to talk about the connection between Drake Maye and Stefon Diggs. The two of them have combined for 16 connections over the last 2 weeks, both weeks in which Stefon Diggs goes over 100 yards receiving. I'll start with Diggs just quickly. I did not expect it was going to look this good this early. He's still less than a year removed from tearing the ACL. He's looked less explosive to me, or he had prior to this game, and even after the Carolina game. It's like, yeah, the back shoulder play was nice. They blew a coverage on the deep in that game that allowed him to get the 3rd and 15 conversion. Well, in this one, you want to play zone, he's going to chew you up because he has incredible feel, and that's what the Bills did in the first half. They played zone. They sat back. It actually caused Drake some problems. It caused the Patriots some problems because they were expecting more pressure. They walked up a bunch of looks like they were coming and then dropped back. But if there was one constant in the first half, it was Maye consistently finding Stefon Diggs settling in against zone. Second half, and I'm not really quite sure why they decided to do this, because they had success in the first half playing that way. They tried to heat up Maye a little bit more. Patriots got 6 of their 7 explosives in the second half, and Maye was outstanding against the blitz in the second half. Absolutely picked it apart. I believe 6 for 7 against the blitz in the second half for 100 yards. But it's the connection with Diggs that is allowing that, once again, much as I could just said with the defense and giving teams something to think about, now the way Diggs is playing and the way that Maye and Diggs have learned each other so quickly, and it's still not completely there. Think about the first cover 2, the slant, where Maye wanted him to settle down and threw it to the back hip, and Steph didn't realize it quick enough, and so then the ball kind of glanced off his hands and fell to the ground, and it was a 3rd down play, and it was disappointing because it was there. That should have been a completion. That's only going to get better when they start seeing the game the same way, because they're already seeing it pretty close to the same way thus far. And it's giving Maye this almost like this bailout option. Like, I if all else fails, I think I can throw it to Steph, and Steph's going to go get the ball. You saw it in particular on the 32-yarder down the sidelines where Maye gets outside the pocket, directs traffic. Diggs is covered in the probably in the curl hook area, maybe 12 to 15 yards down the field. But when he gives him the point, he spins out, loses Tre'Davious White, gets behind him, and then an incredible throw by Maye on the run with pressure in his face, and Diggs getting the feet in bounds along the sidelines inside the 5-yard line. An incredibly big play. A momentum play, a confidence building play, as not that they don't have confidence in each other now, but it just continues to grow. And that was one of those instances where you just think, like, what can this be if Steph gets a little bit more explosion in his legs? And I as I said, I think we started to see some of that. The run after catch stuff was outstanding. I believe it was 83 or 87 yards beyond expected in this game from Diggs after he caught the football. So terrific performance from the two guys. And now teams are going to have to look at it and go, do we need to slide our coverage to Stefon Diggs? And the effect that could have for the rest of the group, whether it's Kayshon Boutte, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, Mac Hollins, or even someone, as I mentioned with Callahan last night, like Kyle Williams, who was open deep down the field a couple times in this game, could not get him the ball, didn't even target him. But there were plays to be made. I think one play in particular, Maye bailed a little early. Another one, there was some pressure, and he threw it underneath. I mean, it would have been a tough throw over the top, but he was open. So you're starting to see, even without the results, Williams' ability to stretch the field is making some things happen. And now if you have Diggs doing this and you start devoting coverage, do you get him isolated one-on-one on the backside and get that explosive 60, 65-yard play that you've been begging for, clamoring for? And we know what that can do for a football team. You know, It's great when you have 7, 8, 9, 10 play drives, control the clock, move the ball down the field and score. It's also great every once in a while when you just say, boom, we got you. 1 play, 2 play drive, 65 yards, touchdown. The things that can do for your offense, the momentum, what it can do to the crowd, everything is critical in that regard. Those two are really coming along. Again, much faster than expected. And I want to harp again on the zone stuff with Diggs. I've always been a believer in the talent. I think if you've ever read my writings anywhere, followed me when I was at the NFL Network, whatever, I talked about him being one of the 3 or 4 best receivers in the league for that whole stretch of 4 years. Obviously, it hasn't quite looked the same. It didn't, had a nice first half in Houston before he got hurt with the knee. Is he a 1? Well, he's not the high-end 1 anymore, but if he's a 1 for this team and can dictate coverages, and his feel for the game is second to none. And even if he doesn't have that full explosion pre-injury, the ability to see it and understand when he's got to sit, when he's got to keep moving, how to find those little holes is as good as anybody still in the league. And the Patriots are certainly benefiting from that. All right, it's a little serious moment now. We're going to hear from Ethos. I can't change the read so much in my head because this is truly how I felt about insurance. I didn't care about it when I was younger. And then you get married, you buy a house, and then you have kids, and you look around at all that you have, and you say, how can I make sure that if something were to happen to me, knock on wood, that my family is protected financially from something catastrophic? And that is where Ethos comes in. Online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There is no complicated process, and it's 100% online. As someone who sometimes doesn't like to deal with human beings, that's fantastic. No medical exam required, okay? You just answer a few health questions, and you get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. You can get same-day coverage without ever leaving your house. Life insurance is more affordable than you think with Ethos. You can get a free quote and customize a rate that fits your budget. Get up to $3 million in coverage. And some policies, however, are just as low as $2 a day. You just do what you feel is right, what you feel like you can afford. Ethos is incredibly well-trusted, #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider, according to Business Insider. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help them find the right coverage. 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with about 3,000 reviews, which is just crazy. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/all32. Again, that's Ethos, ethos.com/all32. Ethos will put your mind at ease. All right, let's get to the third quarter here. And I'm going to stick with offense. And this is a mea culpa, because when Andrew and I do the pod on Monday nights after the game, we crunch the tape, and especially after a night game, it's just you pretty much don't stop. You're not sleeping. You're getting through it, and we do studs and duds at the end, right? And we've talked about the studs and duds during the course of the broadcast, so we don't really elaborate a ton. Shut off my phone after it was done. Watched the remainder of the Chiefs-Jaguars game, and then went to bed. When I woke up this morning, phone's on, and I got a text from someone who works for the Patriots and was like, guys dropped the ball. Hunter Henry should have been one of your studs. And as I read the text, I'm like, immediately in my head, there was about 5 or 6 different plays that popped up that Hunter Henry made in the game. And I was like, you're right. I'm like, we're idiots. He's like, no, I get it. You're grinding, you're up late, you're not sleeping the whole thing. But then I thought about more and said, it's almost because now I think we take Hunter Henry for granted. He's just a really good player, someone that the quarterback has a ton of trust in, someone that the entire coaching staff has a ton of trust in, and he only had 2 catches for 46 yards, but they were both explosive pass plays. One in the third quarter, 21-yarder on 2nd and 4. Oh, excuse me. I'm getting ahead of myself. Drive before the half. So it's 3-3. Patriots have been bogged down. Drake hadn't looked good to that point. Didn't look bad, but didn't look good. He was skittish in the pocket. They gave him time in the pocket, and Hunter Henry works free. I don't even call an over, deep in, 21 yards down the field, drops it over the safeties, big play, helps set up the field goal that gives them the lead 6-3. I would have gone for it there on the goal line, on the 1-yard line there, but Mike said we'd done so much work, we got down there, and we wanted to get points out of that. We want to have that feeling going into the locker room. Then another one in the second half, 1st and 10 from midfield, 41-yarder. This play was, this was Drake. This was a dagger. Henry's got the seam. You're usually clearing out to open up the dig underneath. The dig is covered. Hunter is open. Can you put the ball in front of the safeties? An unbelievable throw. Put it on Hunter. But Hunter was absolutely exposed and took a hellacious hit, and he held on to the football. 25-yard gain. Huge play right there for the Patriots. But beyond that, a couple blocks down on the goal line on the touchdown runs, where I think he's probably I've never been super enthused about the Patriots tight ends as blockers. They give you effort, Hooper and Henry, but they're not road graders. They're certainly not someone like a Rob Gronkowski, or even like what the Bills have on their side with their rookie Jackson Hawes. But the effort was there, positioning was there. He moved people and helped open up things for Ramondre Stevenson on the touchdown runs. Just in general, a really good football game by a really good football player who the Patriots continue to lean on, and he continues to provide. It was great to talk to him after the game. I asked him, I know it's only early October, but you haven't been in many big games the last few years. How does it feel to win a big game? And, he kind of acknowledged hey, Giardi, relax. It's October 5th or whatever it is. Nobody wins Super Bowls or makes playoff games with a win in early October. But that smile that came across his face and just being like, yeah, clearly it's been a road, and he stuck with it, and they stuck with him, rightfully so, because he's a true pro, and it's paying dividends for the football team. He's someone that universally loved in the locker room, respected for his work, and obviously really just an important cog in the offense, and one of those guys that May trusts over pretty much anybody, and there's a good reason for that. Let's go to the fourth quarter, if you will. I wanted to talk about Mike Vrabel's plan, and I mentioned it at the top. Vrabel approaches the team midweek, and he gives them the keys to the game. And this is something that Belichick used to do, and the players would rave about Belichick like it's crazy how he would tell you exactly what was going to happen in the game, and if we did what he told us to do, we won more often than not. Also helped having Tom Brady and some Hall of Famers on that team. But Mike Vrabel has taken that with him in his coaching, and he has done that. And what you need from a team that is over 50% turnover, it's new, they're just getting to understand each other, understand the coaching staff, been together for 6 months now-ish, if that, but really in the days since the end of July, nonstop togetherness, is you need proof of concept. You need to see that what he is telling you does come to fruition, that this is how you have to play. And I was a little bit, I don't want to say alarmed, but lower C concerned about the first few weeks. And he's like, the turnovers happen, whatever. You have a game like that. But just the penalties, some blown assignments, it just felt like they weren't on all their details. And I know that that's the way they're being coached. So you're like, are they having a hard time grasping it? What's the deal? The last 2 weeks in particular, they're on their details. They're doing the things that he asked them to do. As I mentioned, stopping the run was a big key for this game. And now that you're having that success, there's no way that doesn't carry more impact. Okay, he told us what to do first 3 weeks, but we lost to Vegas. We lost to Pittsburgh. We had a dogfight in Miami to win that game, and there was some real slop in that game. And if not for May and the offense, and then, of course, the kick return by Gibson, maybe you don't emerge from that. But now it's stacking these games, stacking these performances, does that increase the level of buy-in? To me, it certainly does. Vrabel was asked about that on Monday. I was not at the press conference. Obviously, I was still in Buffalo, and the press conference was here. They get the charter home. So the people that didn't travel media-wise were able to ask questions. And he was asked about that. And it's the longest answer he's given us in the entire season. So it's clearly something that he wanted to talk about and not pay lip service to. I'll read some of it because it's 3 pages long. I printed out. But he's asked, does this help with buy-in? He said, I don't know if I look at it like that. I think that the buy-in, I don't know how you necessarily define that. Just trying to show them what they're capable of doing when we do it together in all 3 phases and play to our identity. And then he went on to say, it wasn't great. There were things that we did in the game that were not what we coached to do. We didn't get great play from special teams. We couldn't bring down Josh Allen at times. They made plays offensively. Then he went on to the Saints, because he's already trying to establish the message for this week, even though he hasn't given his teams the keys. They'll do that on Wednesday morning, but he's putting it out there. He wants to make them understand, like, hey, the Buffalo thing's over. Turn the page, get in your playbook, start looking at what we're going to do or get in film and start looking at what we're going to do for the Saints, and then we'll give you the plan on Wednesday. I want to get to the second part of the answer. Oh, he talked about how, they hopefully we can build some confidence by the way that we played. We gave up a touchdown drive to start the second half, but our offense came back and answered. They went down, tied the game, and we came back and made a kick, executed the time of the clock, gave them an MVP quarterback, very little time to be able to do anything. Those are things that we had to do. So maybe we can show them and say, quote, this is what you're capable of. This is how we'd like to do. This is how we'd like to maybe do it a little bit differently. But I don't question the buy-in. I think that they're trying. We've just got a lot of things to improve on. He's not going to take a victory lap, but he's got them pointed in the right direction, and he's got them believing, and those are such critical aspects. Confidence means so much. You can talk about the Jimmies and Joes, and you do have to have the talent and all those things. Scheme matters in the NFL, maybe more than any other, not even maybe any other sport, any other of the major sports, and they're getting scheme improvements as the weeks go on. McDaniels doing a great job with the offense, and Drake May, as I mentioned, Zach Core having his best performance with that defensive staff this week after a good week last week, and after signs in the Pittsburgh game after the slow start of also settling in. So there's 2.5 games really of record now where the defense is pointing in the right direction. And I just think he doesn't want to say it, but he does want to say it, that the more they do this, the more they'll understand we've got your best interest at heart. We found out what we think is going to do it. And if you do it, more often than not, maybe you win these football games. And we talk about playing, my big thing for this team was playing meaningful games in December, and maybe that would lead to a game in January. You look at the schedule, you look at a victory like this, and you can start to dream a little bit bigger. I like to stay in the moment because in this league, anything can happen week to week. But the belief that he has gotten from his team and the buy-in he's gotten from his team is critical. I'm going to give you a quick little overtime here because I solicited some questions on the Twitter machine, or whatever they call it now. Let me see if I can find it. I didn't get the chance to print them out before we did this. The great Claire Cooper, who has her own podcast, Claire. Mr. Giardi, with the unrest over the running game now that Gibson is out for the rest of the season, Antonio with the torn ACL, and Mondre still having issues, the fumble, do you think McDaniels will alter his offensive scheme to reduce the running game usage or maybe bring in another running back? I can't imagine, Claire, under any circumstance, that they would go away from the run game because of the fumbling issues of Ramondre and because Trevion still hasn't quite caught on yet. Like, he's doing some good things. He just hasn't been real super patient as a runner, let things develop as they need to. And I think at times the offensive line hasn't been terrific in terms of moving bodies, although I still put it more on the running backs than I do on the offensive line. I got to imagine that they're going to comb the waiver wire. I got to imagine that they're going to bring some people in for a workout. Again, we're taping this Tuesday at 1:00. They may already have some people in. I would expect them to add to the room. I would expect that Terrell Jennings, who's on the practice squad, would get a chance as well this week. I can't go into the game with just 2 running backs, but I just don't think they'll abandon it. I think it's far too early, and they may not be great options, but there are options out there from someone you can pluck off somebody else's practice squad, what have you, to help get to that point where they can still be as balanced a football team as possible. Although at the end of the day, when your quarterback's playing like that, you're still going to probably put more on him, and feels like he can eat what's on his plate at this juncture. This is kind of a funny one. I cannot reveal who it is. All I can tell you is this person is not, I repeat, is not Will Parkinson. As we know, Will and his Jets, and the Jets are 0-5. As a Jets fan, I was wondering at what point in the season would you consider changing the name of the podcast to the All 31 instead of the All 32, All 32 being all 32 teams in the NFL. Jets are 0-5 currently. At Tankapalooza, they would be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. I am, quite frankly, a little shocked about what's happened with the Jets. I thought the offense would be uneven because of the quarterback. Justin Fields just hasn't improved nearly enough as a passer to make that a dangerous passing offense. It's the defensive regression under Aaron Glenn, a defensive coach, obviously, who came over from the Lions and did a terrific job with the Lions patching together their defense with all the injuries last year, and still, whatever, they win 14 games, 15 games before it finally fell apart late in the year and in the postseason. They look awful. And there's some rumblings about the way Glenn's doing things, and that's what's going to happen when you're 0-5. And all I know is that 2-15, 1-16, 0-17 season is hard to survive. So even if they really, at their heart, they hired him and they were excited to hire him, that Aaron Glenn was the right coach, it's hard to bring someone back if you have that kind of season. So it's kind of a joke, but it's just an interesting, the question was, but it's an interesting a point as we hit on one of the teams outside the league. All right, that is going to put a wrap on the program. I'm supposed to read this thing here. Where is it? Because every time I try to freelance it, I screw it up, so I will not freelance it. For those listening to the show, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit the like button, and subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel for our show and a lot of other great Patriots content, like Callahan and I on Monday nights after games. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. Love it if you could leave a review. 5 stars are beautiful. We love that. But we appreciate you, as always, sticking with me on my solo efforts on Tuesdays. Listen to me drone on. Hopefully I made a fair amount of sense today, even though in my head I'm not sure that I did. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Harrison behind the scenes getting this done. We will talk to you at, I think Thursday is the plan. We'll have Nick Underhill on from New Orleans Saints coverage. Phenomenal. One of the best. Not even one of the best. He is the best guy on the Saints. Saints are a little dangerous. I'm just going to say it. 1-4, but a little dangerous. They played pretty good football by and large this year. So that'll be a test for the Patriots on Sunday at 1:00 in New Orleans. We will give you a look ahead with Nick on Thursday. All right, that'll do it. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you. Enjoy your day.